Hey, it's Chris from Learning Every Day here, and it's Friday, and I just want to get a little message out to you about something that I've learned in the last couple of weeks that's going to help you with your business networking. Now, if you're watching this and you're part of a networking group, these two tips are really going to help you. However, if you're not part of a networking group, these two tips will still help you because they're there for you, not just for networking groups, but actually your network in general. So one thing I want to say before I get started is this quote that I've been sharing around recently and using a lot to kind of add context to what it is I'm about to talk about, is that, and the quote is, don't tell people what you do, tell them what problems you solve, okay? And that's going to help people understand better what it is that you do, what problem you solve, what are you really selling? You're really selling the solution to a problem, typically. Okay, so I'm going to share two business tips with you, business networking tips that I've learned that I'm using right now and I'm going to be using in the future. And hopefully when we bump into each other offline, we'll be able to have a chat about it and see, maybe compare some notes and see how effective it actually is. But I learned this from a guy called Derek Coburn, who has recently published a book called Networking is Not Working. And I highly, highly recommend you pick up that book, because I've read it and I've been completely influenced by it, and it's really aligned my thoughts about networking and what works and what doesn't for me. And it's something I've been thinking about actually for a few years now, is about creating my own network of people. Read the book. I'd love to chat to you about it. As always, comments, feedback, absolutely welcome and encouraged on this topic. And I'd love to actually hear your thoughts on these two specific tips I'm about to share with you, especially the first one. And the first tip is all about triggering events and trigger phrases. And really what this is all about is helping you to get more referrals, okay? Now, a lot of us think that our network know what we do, like our family, our friends, our business colleagues, and our wider network. We think that they know what we do. We just make that assumption, but that's rarely, if ever, true, that they truly know what it is we do. So for example, if someone said to me, Chris, I met someone the other day who's looking for a marketing advisor. Brilliant. But that's not really, we advise people in marketing, but we're actually there to solve a specific problem. And that specific problem for people is specifically, usually, people that are really struggling with their time. They like running their business, they want to get involved in the marketing, but they can't. They don't have the time. We are here to help people to market their business that don't have the time to do it. Now, that's a triggering event for us, okay? So a business owner that says something to someone about not having enough time, would love to do more marketing, really struggling, don't have time to write blogs, do the podcast, but would really, really love to do it. And at that time, that's when I want someone in my network to say, I know who you need to speak to. You need to speak to Chris Marr. He's the guy that will help you with all of that. For someone like I'll give you another example actually, like an IFA or a financial advisor, and this is lifted straight from Derek Coburn's book. He talks about this, like a triggering event might be something like when you know someone's had a baby, for example, or they're having an extension in their family, which would lead to having financial planning elements associated with it. Another triggering phrase might be when someone says, I'm really struggling to keep a hold or keep tabs on my money and need some advice, or I need help, or something like that. That'd be a triggering phrase. An HR consultant might be looking out for someone that's, for example, if I was out there and I wanted to refer a business to, say, Ali Booth, for example, I might be looking out for people that have maybe bought a business recently, or perhaps selling a business, or someone that's complaining about having problems with their team, or having, like, for example, worried about succession planning, or anything like that. That's what I would be looking for. I'd be like, right, actually, I know exactly who you need to speak to. Those are triggering events. And they might say things like, I'm really struggling to get my team to do the things I want to do, or one of my team members has written to me and has taken me to court for some discrimination. There's a triggering phrase and a triggering event all in the one place. So I'd be like, right, I know exactly who you need to speak to. So what the job to do is, what we need to do, every one of us, we need to write down what our triggering events are and triggering phrases and share them with our network so they know what to look out for. But not only that, and this is the key thing here actually, is you need to ask all your network for theirs. So maybe you've got a dozen people or 20 people in your core network group. Ask them what their triggering events are, and ask them things like, what problems do your clients typically have? What type of client do you normally get? Where do they hang out? Tell me more about your customers, but specifically I want to know what problems they usually have and what those kind of triggering phrases and triggering events would be, and just note them down. It might just be 2 or 3 things, but at least you've got a better idea of what problems they solve. Comes back to that original quote, right? So think about what problems they solve, not what they do, but what problems they solve. So that's triggering events and phrases. So my advice is really to write your own down, but seek others as well. Try and find out more about your network business, the businesses in your sort of close network. And this is something I shared with my network group this week. The second tip is dead straightforward and dead easy, but not many people do this, is to write a short paragraph that will help your network to introduce you to their network. Okay, so what typically happens is if someone's got a referral for you, they'll make that connection or that introduction either by email or LinkedIn or something like that. But if they can copy and paste out a paragraph that they can put in that benefits both you and your client, then that makes life easier. So it'd be specifically something that's kind of written in the third person that introduces you to them through your referral partner or your network buddy. And that makes life a lot easier, right? So everyone in your network group should really write this paragraph, put it in a document, share it on Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that. So when you're making that introduction, the benefit there is that you're in control of that introductory process. You've got an element of control, making sure you're being introduced in the right way. By embracing that quote as well, it just explains what problems you solve for your customers. So there's my 2 tips. And it's really a bit of homework for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'd love to know what your triggering events are. And if you've already done something like this, or perhaps you've got a ninja tip, like Alan Martin would say, for business networking as well, that you'd like to share with the group and with in the comments section on the blog, I'd love to hear what you've got to say. So that's a little bit of homework. Enjoy it. Have a great weekend, and don't forget to be awesome.